basically just want to know about yourself and your history in the game. You could give us a little rundown on that.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I've been playing pickleball actually for about 25 years and started middle school PE class. So I grew up here in Oregon in the US, and pickleball was founded in Washington, just about 4 hours north of me.
Yep.
So we were pretty blessed in middle school and high school and college to have pickleball class. And so I've been playing for a long time, but in terms of the professional and open level play, I've been playing since 2011.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Wow.
I got into it a lot earlier than most.
Right. Right. Nice. And so, what sort of achievements have you had in that time?
Well, I've had a lot of good partners that have helped me be successful. Um, been blessed to win some national championships here in the States and in
Yep.
Canada and US Open and Tournament of Champions. And it's been really fun to compete and meet all sorts of people around the country and now the globe, like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, I hear that you're a Hall of Famer.
I was blessed to get inducted in 2022. Yes, I
That's
always say they must have run out of good candidates if they came to
hey,
me.
that's about the time we started playing pickleball. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, sorry, I didn't already know that information before, but yeah, it's so great to learn these things about players. So, mate, so you've been drafted in MLP Australia. What team is it you're on?
I'm on the Asia Aces.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so had you had discussions with Asia Aces or anyone on that team beforehand for them to want to draft you, or do you know if they'd just done their research?
I did have their captain did reach out to me. I think
Yep.
as a lot of the captains were looking at who they were going to select and started to make some calls, some texts to see, get players' personalities and interest level and such. And so I had some text messages with Venice, who's the captain.
Yep.
Um, and so yeah, and for me, I've played a lot of different tournaments in my career, and when I saw that this was open to international players and looked at kind of the criteria, I thought, well, I've never been to Australia.
Yep.
I've never been to New Zealand. What a fun opportunity if I got drafted to go and play in a different part of the world, meet players that are pros in the area that haven't come to the States. And I know there's a lot of talent in the region. So I'm really excited to meet everyone and play and bring some of my background in the game to help my teammates. And I just thought it'd be a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of players here in Australia who will probably, may not ever get the chance to travel to the US to see what their skills are like against players like yourself, people who have been in the game for a long time. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Have you heard anyone talking about MLP Australia in the US? Has there been any discussion about it really?
Before the draft or after the draft or
I guess in general, yeah.
well, I discussed it with some of my pro friends before the draft as to my interest level, but I think after a few of us from the States were drafted, there's been a lot more chatter about it because I think a lot of people who are in a similar position to myself that are looking for opportunities weren't aware of it,
Yep.
that it was open to international players, and that has created some excitement for potentially the future.
Yep.
Um, I don't know what the format's going to be like moving forward, but it definitely has sparked interest with players like myself and Roman and some others that live here that are coming over to play. Others have shown interest
Yeah. So is there any other US players that you've played with who are coming over
that are
or
coming
that you
over.
know? Yeah.
Well, I've played against Roman before.
Yeah.
Um, I know Damien is from Australia originally, but he lives in the States, and I've chatted with him at tournaments over the years. Um, Trying to think of who else. Some Canadians like Casey Rogers.
Yep.
Um, Actually, one of my teammates, David, is a Hong Kong native himself, but resides here, and so I know him as well.
Okay.
Um, and he's newer to the game as well. So yeah, there's quite a few players that if we haven't met each other or played, we've messaged because we know each other.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, super excited for the crew to come over and play and meet all of you.
So have you played with Danny before?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Have you played with Danny before?
Oh, David. Yeah.
David, sorry.
I I've never competed with him. No,
Okay.
I've played against him.
Okay.
And we've got the nice thing here in the Portland, Oregon area is we've got like 10 guys that consistently play pro tournaments in the
Okay.
States.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily in that group, but he's started to kind of come in and play because of getting drafted. Obviously, he wants to practice.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, we've never teamed up. We just had met a handful of times um, before that.
Yeah. Now, someone told me that's on the Tyson McGuffin podcast the other day. Tyson mentioned you and said that you were a player that he really wanted to play like. I actually haven't heard that myself, but that's what someone told me. I thought that was pretty cool. Have you heard that yourself?
Yeah, Tyson's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He lives up here in the Northwest, and
Yeah.
so I've taught with him at some of his camps and
Yeah.
played against him a ton over the years. But he didn't tell me that he was going to say that, and then I had a bunch of people send me that video clip. So then, of course, that created a pretty lengthy text exchange between he and I for a couple of days, laughing
Oh,
about it.
cool.
Because
Yeah.
because I remember when Tyson first came in to the game, and he was trying to rip everything, and he wasn't sure about this dinking thing, and he figured it out pretty quick, though. I'll tell you that.
Cool. Yeah. Have you done any study behind the style of Australian play? Is there anything? Have you watched videos or anything? Obviously, from last year's MLP, where you might. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I will be brutally honest, for someone who's played and coached in the pro game here for a while in the States. I'm not a big video watcher.
oh,
I do a lot more of my kind of scouting and watching on site at tournaments,
yeah,
when I'm not on the court. But obviously for this, I like to do my research. So I've watched quite a few videos from last year's events.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, it's been fun to see all the different styles. There's definitely players that kind of grind a little more and play with some more off speed, and then there's players that swing away and and
yeah.
go for it, which honestly is how I find it here as well. I mean,
Okay,
there's so many different styles.
yeah, sure, cool. So you're a coach on one of the MLP teams in the US. Are you? That's still your role this year or this season?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, and yeah, it was kind of fun that when this opportunity came to go to Australia, none of the dates conflicted
yeah. Okay,
with
that's cool.
my coaching duties. So we have, I mean, that's a whole other story with the merger and everything going on. We're still waiting to hear about stuff, but the way the schedule is as of now, there was going to be no conflict, and so um, it'll be fun to coach and then go over and play as well.
Yeah, cool. And so, are you involved in the drafting in that team?
Yes. So that actually I coached it's the Austin Pickleballers, and I coached that team last year,
Yeah.
but I was in the player pool myself,
Okay.
and so I didn't do any of the drafting. They brought me on early in season one, and I was with them for two events, and then they flip flopped to the challenger level, and I was in the draft, and I said if I don't get drafted, I would be interested in coming back because they wanted me to come back. So I did not help them draft, but
Okay.
this year I will.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
awesome.
year I will.
And so, what are your tactics for drafting?
Wow, I think for me, everyone looks at skill, that's definitely important, but I look more at team chemistry. I look at versatility. I look at how players deal with adversity.
Yeah.
How do they react? How do they encourage their teammates? Are they coachable? And I also look at player familiarity too. If we have two people that play together a lot that are available to be drafted, I like that because in MLP, you don't often see consistent teammates playing, right? That's what's kind of cool about it. And so I was actually very impressed doing some research before the Australian draft about players, looking at how a lot of the captains with their regional picks likely picked individuals that they play with and practice with often. Um, and I thought that was a great move by a lot of captains.
Yeah, I think another reason for that may have been um, some of the captains I know were still wanting to keep more local players from their area. Um, but I think once they saw that there was teams choosing, high level US players like yourself, I think it became a bit more of like it needed to be done that some higher level players were brought in. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's also a bit of a risk. So you also don't want to be choosing some international players and then find out they can't make it to Australia.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that might be why some of the international players were picked later in the draft. Yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I totally get that. And the practice piece is important, right? Leading up to the event, and we haven't played there, and it's a different climate, and it's different time difference, and
yeah.
there's a lot of factors, right?
And I tell you, man, it's hot here at the moment.
Yep, our team has had a text thread, and Penny Lee, that's on our team, has been advising us. It's good that you're getting there early to get used to the temperature.
Yeah, yeah, it's hotter at the moment. You can probably see me sweating. So,
You look cool under pressure. I don't see any sweat.
thank you. Mate, how involved were you with the drafting of the Australian MLP? I know that Sarah had received some text messages from you about, drafting particular people. Yeah, I was just wondering, were you involved with different teams or in regards to who
No,
they?
I think with the team that I got selected with, just kind of like in the States, once people get picked, I know in the States the coaches, the GMs tend to correspond with those first couple of draft picks to help pick the rest of your squad, right? And who do you know, and what's familiarity and style and all of these things.
Yeah,
Um, I had reached out to a couple of captains early on, just as excitement for playing, and I knew a few individuals. Like, I hadn't met Sarah before, but I'd seen her name and heard of her a lot. And players that have come to the States, I reached out to because we have mutual connections.
sure.
So that was kind of more of my interest there. But yeah, we definitely had some texting about our team as we were picking.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Um, have you done any research into the other teams? Like which teams are you thinking are going to be the strongest team?
Well, I figured you might ask me that question. I think with MLP and the format with the scoring, I think it's such a level playing field that I don't. I mean, anything's possible, right? Some players are much better in a tournament setting than they are in an MLP format, and vice versa.
Yep.
Um, I think what I find in the States is the teams that tend to have the strongest female duo um, tend to do the best.
Sure.
Um, and so I think a lot of those teams that probably had maybe a female captain, then picked another female right away, or might be set up for a stronger performance. But the trend could be bucked. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how I see it in the States a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
cool. Maybe, so with the
so I
ML,
don't know. I think every team's going to be pretty good.
yeah, yeah, I think there's going to be some really tough teams. And the top level of competition is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting to watch. Um, what was my next question? Oh, so you're going to be holding some clinics over here?
That's the goal. Yep. In discussion with some people to try to set some up.
Yep.
Hopefully in that first week that I'm there before the event.
Oh, yep. It'd be so good to have someone with your with your, time in the game, and just we'd love to hear from you. And yeah, I think it's going to be really good to just have someone with so much knowledge, so much what do you call it, experience in the sport.
Gotcha. It's a lot of pressure you're putting on me here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'm super excited as an opportunity to just come to a different part of the world, and more so just share my love of the game, just like you all have such a love of the sport. It's going to be great to share ideas and play rec games and teach some of the locals. And a lot of us we just can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Mate, is there anything you wanted to have a chat about?
No, just thank you. Thank you for the promotion of the sport, and all you do. I just, from my perspective, I want to do all that I can to help support and promote the league. Um, because I think, like I said, you asked me that question. There is a lot of buzz now in the States about your league because a few of us are coming over,
Yeah.
and I just want to do all, and I know the others feel the same way. All we can do to come on, these podcasts and such to help promote the league because it's just the beginning of the boom, right? I mean, it's just going to get bigger and better and more enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, well, actually, that was another question I was going to ask. Now that I guess more US players will be, knowing about MLP Australia, I think that a lot more will be applying for the draft next time. Do you think?
Yeah, and I was kind of curious for you all from a domestic perspective, and maybe this is a tough question, but how do how do folks there feel about international players coming in
Well,
to
I
play?
think it's
I'm
it's
sure it's
been
interesting.
yeah, it has been difficult because especially from some of the captains' perspectives, choosing people who, they're not necessarily choosing their friends and the people they train with every day. And these people, they live for pickleball,
Mhm.
they base their lives around pickleball. They train morning and night. Um, and realistically, we all want to see each other succeed.
Mhm.
And to see some people, Australians, missing out on opportunities because of internationals coming here, it's been really disappointing. But I think there's other opportunity. I think maybe when we see how well our players, hopefully they do well against you guys,
Yeah.
and that might open opportunities for the future for our players to travel to the US. I'm hoping that's going to be the case.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, obviously it's disheartening to see your friends not make it, but I think it will be beneficial in the long run. Mm.
Yeah, there were. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there were definitely some people that I had seen play like at the U.S. Open, and I've seen come to the States that weren't picked that I was very surprised
Yeah,
given their success domestically there. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I'd
yeah,
seen a few of them play in Florida. I was like, wow, I'm surprised. You know,
sure. Yeah.
so yeah,
Well, yeah.
but yeah, so yeah, no, I was just curious what the thought was there, and like I said, from my perspective, I look at it as an opportunity to come and play and meet all of you in a different part of the world and help as the league just get more buzz for your league around the world. So I can't wait.
Mate, we're so excited to have you here. Thanks so much for your time today. And yeah, I can't wait to meet you and come and check out your clinic and get on board.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, mate.